Okay, we are going to study the course that is about data communication and computer networks. So, if you do remember, so in the last class we had discussed chapter number 3, transport layer, and we have discussed transport layer services, demultiplexing for TCP and UDP, and we have also discussed the UDP protocol, its header and checksum. Okay, so in today's class we are also going to continue chapter number 3, transport layer, from the computer networking, a top down approach, 7th edition. In this class we are going to discuss the topic reliability, and moreover we will discuss reliability protocols RTDT 1.0, RTDT 2.0 and RTDT 2.1. Okay, so let me remind to you, let me give you a review of internet protocol stacks. As we know that the internet protocol in stack, it has 5 layers: application layer, transport layer, network layer, link layer and physical layer. The application layer we have discussed it. The transport layer, its functionality is to transfer the data from process to process. Okay, so at the transport layer we have 2 protocols and currently used in practice, that is TCP and UDP. So we have discussed the UDP and now we are going to discuss the TCP protocol. Okay, so if you do remember the TCP protocol, the UDP protocol, it is unreliable. Okay, the TCP protocol, it is reliable. It reliably transports the data from sending to receiving applications, and moreover it has the flow control, congestion control and connection management, connection oriented. It is connection oriented. So now we are going, so we have already discussed these things. Okay, so in the chapter number 2. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the reliability that is used in the TCP. So first we will discuss the reliability. What is reliability? How the reliability can be achieved at the transport layer. Okay, so we are going to discuss this term reliability in detail in today's lecture. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the principle of reliable data transfer at the transport layer. What is it? What is reliability and how it can be achieved? Okay, so we are going to discuss it in detail in today's lecture. So first of all, what is reliability and why? So reliability means that the data is received at the receiver without bit error. We have already discussed bit error. That bit error, when the bit flips, for example 1 becomes 0 or 0 becomes 1, this is called bit error. So if in a packet, if a bit 0 becomes 1, so this is error, it generates error. Okay, this is called bit error. Okay, so how to recover from the bit error? We have discussed one mechanism that was called checksum. Okay, so that reliability means that the data is received at the receiver without bit error. Okay, the data is received without loss. There is no packet loss. There is no packet loss. There is no data loss. Okay, the data is received without bit error and the data is received without loss. Okay, and the third thing, the data is received in adder. The data is received at the receiver in the adder in which it is sent by the sender. It is sent by the sender. So this is called data reliability. When the data is received without bit error, the data is received without loss, and the data is received in order, this is called data reliability. This is called data reliability. Okay, and why we are concerned about data reliability at transport layer? So let me give you an overview. Okay, and why is it difficult? Why the reliability is difficult to achieve at the transport layer? Okay, so recall from the assignment number 1 and application layer, as we have discussed that the application layer, it generates data. It generates data, and then it gives the data to transport layer. The transport layer, it only runs in the end systems, and the transport layer sends data from process to process. Okay, so we are going to achieve this transport layer is like a registrar in the university's analogy. Okay, so the transport layer, it sends the data from process to process, but it is logical. It is only running in the end system. The transport layer delivers the data physically from machine to machine through network layer. The transport layer acts as a just registrar. It is a logical. It doesn't move the data physically. It gives the data to the network layer, and the network layer then sends data physically from system to system. Okay, so the network layer is like a post service that takes the letter from one university and physically deliver it to another university registrar. And we know that the network layer in the internet, it is using packet switching technique. And packet switching technique means that the data can be lost, the data can be out of order. Okay, so let me give you an overview again of the packet switching. You know that in the internet it can be divided into two parts: access network and core network. In the core network, to move the data from first router to the destination router, there are two approaches: circuit switching and packet switching. So the circuit switching, before sending the data, the routers, they establish a circuit, and establishing a circuit means that the resources on the path is reserved, and once the resources are reserved, the path is reserved, then the data is sent. So in this case, there is no packet loss. Why? Because the path is reserved and there is no out of order, because the path is already reserved. So this is the circuit, and it is used for a continuous nature communication, like it is used in the telephone networks. So we have already discussed it in the chapter number 1. Similarly, so this is the working of circuit switching. So before exchanging the data, a circuit is established. Once the circuit is established, then the data is sent, then it is sent immediately from sender to receiver. There is no delay other than propagation delay. There is no queuing delay. There is only propagation delay. Okay. So, and this moves continuously. Okay. Why? Because the path is already reserved. So there is no loss. There is no out of order. Okay. So we have already discussed it in the chapter number 1. We have already discussed it in chapter number 1. Okay. While in the packet switching, there is no reservation of the path. The path is not reserved. The data is divided into packets, and each packet is sent. So there is no guarantee that the packet will be delivered. The packet may be lost, and the packet may be received out of order, because one packet, for example, here it can be sent on this path. One packet can be sent on this path. So the first packet may take longer path, and the second packet may take the shorter path and can reach earlier than the first packet. So there can be out of order. There can be packet the packet can be lost. So we have already discussed it in the chapter number 1. So as we have discussed that this is the working of circuit switching and packet switching. Okay. So we have discussed in chapter number 1 that there can be packet loss, there can be packet delay. Okay, why? Because when the packet arrive at a router and the router buffer is full, then the packet will be lost. Okay, so in the packet switching, the packet can be lost. So therefore, as we know that the transport layer, it delivers the data physically by using network layer, and the network layer in the internet, it uses packet switching technique. And the packet switching technique we discussed in the previous slides that there can be packet loss and their packets can be received out of order. Okay, so if the physical data can be lost, then how the transport layer achieves the reliability? So this is the discussion of today's class. Okay, so if the network layer that moves the data physically, the data can be lost, that the data can be out of order, then how the transport layer can achieve the reliability? Reliability means that the data is received without bit error, the data is received without loss, and the data is received another. So how the transport layer achieves this reliability? Using the network layer, the packet switching technique at the network layer. Okay, so this is difficult. So principle of reliable data, it is very important topic. The reliability is important at the application layer, at the transport layer, and even at the link layer it is used, and it is one of the top 10 topic. There are top 10, it is one of the top 10 important topic in the computer networking course. Okay, so what we discussed, the reliability transport layer, the same principles, they can be applied at the application layer, they can be applied at the link layer. Therefore, when we will discuss the link layer reliability, so we will not discuss, but we will just refer you to the transport layer reliability. Okay, because the principle of reliable data transfer at the transport layer, they are same, they can be applied in the same way at the application layer and at the link layer. Okay, so if you do remember the sending application, this is the application layer, it generates the data and it gives the data to transport layer. And the transport layer, it wants that the application wants that the transport layer should send the data reliably. But we know that the transport layer only acts as a registrar at the sending application, at the sending machine and the receiving machine. And the transport layer, it moves the data physically by using the network layer service. And the network layer service, it is unreliable channel. Why? Because it is packet switching. This is the logical communication, and physically the transport layer, it delivers the data through network layer, and the network layer is unreliable. It is using packet switching technique. Okay, so it means that this is a transport layer, but actually a transport layer, it moves the data by using the network layer, and this network layer, it is unreliable. It is packet switching technique. Okay, so the application layer, it generates the data and it called RTDT send function. RTDT means reliable data transfer. That application layer wants to that the transport layer, it should reliably send the data, and the transport layer, it gives the data to the network layer, and the network layer is always unreliable data transfer. UDT means unreliable data transfer. Why? Because the network layer, it is using packet switching technique, and the packet switching technique, the packet can be lost, the packet can be delayed, okay, the packet can be out of order. So how the transport layer achieves the reliability? So the transport layer, it moves the data unreliably, but here at the receiving end, it uses some methods, some magic to get the data reliable and receive the data reliably through unreliable channel. From unreliable channel, it receives the data unreliably, and then it gives the data to the application layer. And we will discuss what is the magic that the transport layer is using. What are the functionalities? What are the activities performed by transport layer so that the data is sent or received reliably using this unreliable channel? Okay, so characteristic of unreliable channel will determine the complexity of reliable data transfer protocol. We will discuss it, okay, one by one. How the unreliable channel can be used to achieve reliable data transfer at the transport layer. What are the functionalities that are performed by the transport layer to achieve reliable data transfer using underlying unreliable channel? Okay, so reliable data transfer, what does it mean? Getting started, okay. So reliable data transfer, suppose that the application layer, it generates the data, okay, the application layer, it generates the data. This is above this red line, it is application layer, it generates the data, and when it generates the data and it wants to move the data reliably, so it invokes RTDT send method. RTDT send method means that it passes the data to the transport layer, that the data should be sent reliably. Okay, now the data, the transport layer in the sender side, it gives the data to the network layer, and the network layer, it is unreliable, but it wants, so it will send UDT. UDT means it is sent unreliably. Okay, now when at the receiving side, the data is received at the transport layer from the underlying network layer and unreliable channel, so it receives the data reliably. How it is received? It performs some activities, and we will discuss what are the activities. Okay, so when the transport layer, it receives the data, so it performs some activities in order that the data is received reliably. Data is received reliably. Reliable means the data is received without bit error, the data is received without loss, and the data is received in order, and then it gives that reliable data to the application layer. Okay, so it means that the data from application to application is transferred reliably by the transport layer, not by the network layer. But the transport layer performs some magic, some activities, some functions to get the data reliably through unreliable channel, and we will discuss it. Okay, again, if we would like to explain the working of our RTDT protocol, we will explain the working of RTDT protocol through another concept that is called finite state machine, and maybe you have discussed it in the compiler course as well. So in the finite state machine, the overall working of the system, it is represented to the states, for example state 1 and state 2. Okay, so the state means that when in this state, what if you are in this state, if you want to go to another state, so how you will move, there will be some events. When some events at the state 1 occurs, and then some actions are performed, and then you move from state 1 to state 2. So this FSM, it is used to specify the overall behavior of RTDT and to get to know about whether there is an error or not. Okay, for example, this state 1 and state 2, it can represent the admission process. So in state 1, first the admission is announced. Okay, so if the form is received, then you are registered, then you are going to next stage. Okay, so this FSM, it is not part of transport layer, but it is, the FSM is used to determine, to explain the working of RTDT protocol, and we will discuss it. Okay, so in the FSM there are the overall working of the system is represented through states, state 1, state 2, and if you want to move from one state to another state, then some events should occur and some action are performed. We will discuss it later on. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the first RTDT protocol, that is RTDT 1.0. Okay, we are going to discuss first protocol, RTDT 1.0. Suppose in RTDT 1.0 we assume that the underlying channel is perfectly reliable. What does it mean? That there is no bit error, there is no packet loss, and even there is no out of order. Okay, let me explain it. Okay, it is perfectly okay. Let me make it clear. There is no bit error, there is no packet loss, and there is no out of order. Out of order. Okay. Okay, we will discuss it in the next video.